And I'll start the recording. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Metaphysical Bible Hangout. I am Reverend Sherri James, Senior Minister for Understanding Principles Church. This is our weekly Bible study, and I'm so delighted to have you here with us tonight. Our format is a little different. If you're watching on YouTube, we're going to be back and forth, communicating with one another. We're going to be just kind of talking through insights from the mental equivalent. Then we're going to talk about where we're going next, and then I want to share with you some insights from my time with Tony Robbins. And I think that this will be a really practical hour for you as far as just tools that you can use, because there have been some really powerful things that I got from participating in Unleash the Power Within that have made an enormous difference in my experience. And I want to share them with you because I think everybody should have this information. And I think that it should be something that if you can't pay thousands of dollars to go, you should still have the information. It's that important. And so right now, let's just take a moment to just relax and just center ourselves. We're asking Spirit to guide us on where to go next. We're asking Spirit to just lead, direct, provide, and protect us. We know that this is the truth of our experience. And so what we're asking for, God, is where do we turn our attention to next? And I just ask that you just shape this conversation so that it is beneficial for all who participate in it, that it is a blessing to those who watch it later on YouTube or on Facebook, and that it's helpful to everyone, that each person gets something that they need while we're going through the practical experience of listening for the leanings of your voice in us, listening for the sound of you in us, listening for that stillness that says go left and not right, or go straight and not backwards. And so we just recognize that there is a divine direction. There is a right choice for where you want us to go. And so we're touching and agreeing, though we live in different areas, and right now we're seated in different areas, that we touch and agree that we are guided into the right next step. And so I just open myself to this process, and I thank you right now for whatever comes, for I know that it shall be good because it shall be God. In the name and the nature of the one that is called the Christ. It is so, and so it is. Okay, all right, so let me start first with insights on the mental equivalent. If you guys, you can definitely unmute yourself, or if you want to type in the chat, I'll read back your chat. But what were the things that you took from that whole series that you can work with, something that you can do something with? And for those of you that are not aware, we just finished a series with Emmett Fox's The Mental Equivalent. And Emmett Fox wrote this pamphlet in 1943. It was published in 1943. I believe it was a talk that he gave on the mental equivalent at Unity. And it became published as a pamphlet and passed down through the ages. And it really is a seminal essay or a seminal talk, because it really just outlines the process by which our minds form an idea inside, and then that inside idea becomes an outside expression. Takeaways, feedback. Well, tell me what you enjoyed most. Maybe let's start there. And I'll go with feedback. What did you enjoy the most?
Reverend?
Yes.
Hey.
Hello.
I really enjoyed the breakout groups. I thought those were excellent.
Okay, good. Awesome. Anybody else? Anyone else? And I'm checking the chat. Don't everybody speak at once. What changed for you? Maybe I should ask the question that way. What changed for you? What changed in your experience? What changed in the way that you are showing up in the world because of the work that we did with the mental equivalent? Yes. Deb says, what changed? What changed? It is my intent that life will never be the same, that every series that we go through, that we make a shift in consciousness such that life will never be the same. Ray says, um, I find that I'm listening more. Ray, can you tell me more about that? And Clarice says, amen to the breakout room. Yes. Good, good, good. I'm glad that that's working. I'm glad that that's working good because we keep that aspect of the process.
Reverend Sherri?
Yes.
Hi. What I mean is that I'm listening not only to myself, but others around me, because I'm hearing things that have always been there, but I never stopped to hear them before or really listen to them.
Can you give me a specific example?
Things that I might have tuned out before,
Okay.
that I'm much more receptive to hearing things and other people's experiences and journeys, because I'm finding a commonality in what I'm hearing now and getting healing and blessings through that.
And so would that count as like an empathy, like a deepening of your empathy? Would
Yes.
that be okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay. That's powerful. That's powerful. Deb says more self-awareness and paying attention consciously to thoughts and actions. Good, 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 good. Anybody else? And BJ says, yes, the breakout groups was great. Yes,
Sherri.
yes.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna put this right, but what I had trouble with, and I'm still working on, is a lot of old stuff. Like, when I was little, and my grandmother took me to a Pentecostal church, and all the other little kids had jobs, and so I have this in my mind also, that you're called to do something. You have a natural talent, and so I automatically went into nursing, and now at this age I'm not doing that anymore. And so I find it hard where he says, you don't wait for God to tell you what to do. Like, it's up to me to, you're not called, or
Right.
I'm kind of you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think that's a great point, which is that you have input on your call.
Right.
We have been taught that the call of God is that it comes and we don't have anything to do with it,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And you have everything to do with the call on your life. So let me say it this way: if you go back and you study just Bible characters, and for example, if you take a Moses, if you go back and you look at Moses' life, Moses was always interested in justice, and he was always interested in what is right and what is wrong. And we know this by the interactions that he had. So we don't hear anything from him. He doesn't really speak as a child when he's growing up in Pharaoh's castle, Pharaoh's estate, right? But what happens is that when he gets to be a young man, he sees an Egyptian beating a Hebrew. This is our first incident. So remember, Bible stories are not trying to give you all the details of their life. They're trying to give you the seminal moments of their life, right? Which is, these are the things that were most important about who this person is. So when we see him, he stops the Egyptian from beating the Hebrew to the point of killing the Egyptian. And from his perspective, these are my people and this is wrong. So at this point, he's trying to take justice into his own hands. And then the next time we see him, which according to the scriptures, the next day, he is stopping a fight between two Hebrews. So he's always interested in what's right and what's wrong and what's just and what's unjust. And then, of course, the two Hebrew men reveal that they saw him kill that Egyptian, which he thought he had gotten away with, and then he flees to the Midian desert. But this idea of justice won't let him alone. Now, this isn't how the scripture talks about it, but we understand how consciousness works, which is that an idea plays in the mind until the idea becomes us, and until the idea has a hold of us in such a way that we cannot let go of it. And so this idea of justice is playing in Moses' mind, and then he describes it this way. He says it's like a bush that burns but is not consumed. And so this bush burns and it's not consumed. What is that idea in you? It may not, nursing may have been one form to fulfill it, but what is the idea in you that is seeking to be born, that has been trying to be born all your life? So it is studying the Bible characters pretty much across the board. You will find that whatever someone became, they were always becoming along the way. And it took different forms before they got to the form that we think of as like their final form. But they were always becoming it along the way. And so I would throw that question to you. What have you been becoming all through your life? What keeps showing up for you?
Helper.
Helper?
Yeah. Healer.
Healer. So now the question to ask is, what new form of healer am I interested in becoming? Because I know the gift is healing, because that's how I've been showing up. And that's how I felt led. You always know your purpose by your interest.
Okay.
You always know your purpose by your interest. So you don't have to really guess at your purpose. You just say, like, what's the thing that I've been interested in all my life? For me, it was teaching. So even when I was working in the entertainment field as a film producer, calling myself being a producer, I was busy putting together workshops to teach people how to do film. You know, like there was something in my soul that I must teach, I must show, I must explain. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Awesome. Anybody else? Thank you for saying that, because I'm sure that there is, I mean, all of us are ingrained with this idea of like how God interacts with us, and it's colored by what we were taught when we were like Jordan's age, and we were given it at that age, and then told not to question it. That to question it or to think something different would send us to hell. And it is, well, anyway, y'all know how I think about that. Alita says, I'm having some tech issues, but Reverend Rowe talked about shadows in our lives and how things are hidden. So I'm listening more to or for the shadows, because I think that's what's keeping me from demonstrating. Yes. So now I am not an expert in the shadow work, so I'm about to bring Rev Rowe back for that. But I think that that's powerful to understand the part of ourselves, the parts of ourselves that have not yet been exposed to the light. The parts of ourselves that have not yet been exposed to the light. And like she said, the shadows are yummy. The shadows are delicious. You know, I find myself, so right now we've got I'm very mindful of gossip and things like that, and even just consuming it, right? Because even if I don't gossip, but I'm consuming it, I'm still participating in it. And there's something yummy about people getting their comeuppance. And y'all know what I'm talking about. That's going on right now in our news cycle. It's a few different people going through that experience. And so just really being mindful of not even clicking on the headlines to read those articles when they come up, but to really stay present to, what do you want me to do, Spirit? Because I can't do both. I can't pay attention to who's getting their comeuppance and get the fruit in me out into expression. I'm gonna have to choose, and I'm choosing God. Alita says, it's what keeps me from changing my mind and keeping it changed. I'll tell you something that I discovered along this process. One of the insights that I got in this process of working on the mental equivalent. We don't really have an output problem. We don't really have a demonstration problem. What we have is an input problem. Because the demonstration always reflects the input. We're always demonstrating. So there's never a season in our lives where we're not demonstrating. We may not be happy with what we're demonstrating, but we're absolutely demonstrating. That's just the way that this thing works, right? So we're always proving something. And what we're proving is what's going on inside of us. And so what I find is that we don't really have a demonstration problem or an output problem so much as we have an input problem, because the input is always going to prove, excuse me, the output is always going to prove up the input. So I'll tell you how I structure my day. So one of the things that I do in the morning when I wake up is I do my box breathing. That's my first thing, is I want to practice breathing correctly. So I didn't know this, but it makes sense. So what happens, I wonder if I can find a picture of lungs. Let's see if I can find a picture of lungs. Lung picture. I want to show you this because this is powerful with your lungs. Here's a picture. Is this going to give me a big enough picture? I got some background noise there. Does somebody want to make a comment, or do you want to mind your background? All right, so hopefully this is a good picture. If not, I'll try to make it bigger. Oh no, that's pretty good. Okay, so can you guys see that picture? I'm assuming yes. Get out of the way. What is this?
I can't.
You can't see the picture. Well, wait, are you on your phone or are you on the computer?
Computer?
Okay, let me stop and share one more time.
I see it now.
Oh.
I can see it now.
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. All right, let me, what in the world is this? No thing. No, I don't want your, woo! Little bug here. Okay. No thanks. Get out the way. All right. Move Google thing. Okay. So here's what I want you to see with the lungs. All right. So this was something that was brought out to us at the workshop that I wasn't really clear. So most people, when they breathe in, and the shoulders and the chest cavity rises, and then they exhale. That type of breath is called a stress breath. That type of breath is called a stress breath. You breathe that type of shallow breath when you are in like a fight or flight stage. Now, the proper way to breathe is to breathe and to let the abdomen extend. And the reason being is because if you see, these things are called, I think, alveoli. I may have the wrong name wrong, but they basically, these little fingers, if you will, capture the oxygen in the air, and then, in the air that you're taking in, and then they distribute it to the rest of the body. When you breathe a shallow breath, you're not even getting a full breath. So you're getting about 30% of the oxygen that your body actually needs. And if you have ever yawned, but you weren't tired, that's because your body needed oxygen and it needed you to take a deeper breath. And so what happens when you breathe, really the shoulders should be still. When you have this breath where the chest cavity moves and the shoulders move up, that's a stress breath. So one of the first things that I do in the morning is I do my box breathing, because I want to condition myself to breathe properly throughout the day. Doesn't mean that I always will, because I'm still in a practice stage with this whole thing, right? But what I'm trying to do consistently is have myself breathe properly through the day. I need to make sure. All right. I'm going to put my Bluetooth on, hotspot on, just in case, because I saw a little stutter. Give me 1 second while I switch over the internet. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, now we're there. Okay, great. All right, so then it should be stable now. So the box breathing is one thing, and then what I do is I do some type of movement, because when you move your body, and this is like science, not spirituality. that when you move your body, there are different endorphins or different hormones that release in your body. And even just 5 minutes of movement is enough to get that going. And so you want to begin to like get all of that energy. The neurobiologist who was there, he's called it the happy juice. That it's like the happy juice that you get going inside of your body when you move yourself. And then I go through, I have a prime exercise where I do another breathing exercise that's called a fire breath. And then I do my gratitude. And in my gratitude, I'm always thinking of like some type of past experience, or could be a current moment or whatever, but just something that I'm really deeply grateful for. And I really spend time feeling that gratitude, like really feeling that. So for example, this morning, one of the things I was deeply grateful for, when I was 17, I got a chance to go to Israel, and I got a chance to climb Mount Masada, where the Maccabees held their revolt. And so I got up earlier than the normal time and climbed Mount Masada to catch the sunrise. And I remember being at the top of the mountain. I remember the sense of satisfaction because it was a big deal for me to get up earlier and get on that mountain and go all the way up to the top and get there before the sunrise. And I remember there was also a moment where the sun was, you could see the light, you know, day had broken, but the sun hadn't necessarily shown itself. So there was a moment of like, am I going to get there before the sunrise? And I did. And I remember the sense of elation and the sense of satisfaction that I felt at 17, and even a sense of accomplishment and just, you know, deep appreciation for God. And so those were things that, again, that gratitude. So I try to take myself back to that moment and put myself back on that mountain, because again, I'm practicing the gratitude. I'm trying to feel it in my nervous system. And I do 3 things that I'm grateful for. And then I try to find one thing that's like a coincidence that I had to ask myself, okay, did this just happen? Or was I being led to it? So I usually try to think of some type of coincidental moment. And then I think of 3 things that I want to accomplish. And I try to feel myself actually accomplishing those things. So all of that is part of me priming my morning. And then after that, I record what I did in the priming exercise. I record it in my journal, and then get up and go about my day, and then read. Either I'll read at the top or read at the bottom, but somewhere in there, I'll read, like, you know, if not a chapter, like, you know, half a chapter or something like that, or a quarter of a chapter, but something so that I'm taking in information. But what I'm doing is I'm front loading my mind, right? Because all of this is happening in the first hour of my day. So I'm front loading my mind. Why? Because I'm going to plant some type of garden by the end of the day. Some type of garden is going to be planted. And so what I want to do is I want to color and paint those seeds, if you will, those seed thoughts with the energy of God before they get planted in the soil of my mind. And so this process for me is very, very important for doing that. But also, if you win the first hour of the day, you can win the day. If you win the first hour of the day, you can win the day, because no matter what happens, you really powered your mind for success. So now during the day, one of the things that I do, and Reverend Galen talked about this last week, is I keep a podcast going. I keep some type of positive. I really don't watch TV, so I never have the TV going ever. And I've pretty much gotten out of the habit of watching TV, just in general. Nothing wrong with TV. Let me say that. Nothing wrong with TV. If you're a TV watcher, this is not a judgment on you being a TV watcher. But again, we don't have an output problem. We have an input problem. And so I'm really interested in managing my input. I'm really interested in managing what's going into my mind, because what's going into my mind is directly impacting what's coming out of my mind. And so I'm super intentional. So I'll share with you some of the people that I listen to. Tony Robbins. Tom Bilyeu has a show called Impact Theory that is dynamite. He's one of the guys. He co-founded Quest Nutrition, and then out of that grew what he's doing right now with Impact Theory. But he's in this whole personal development, human potential space, and he always has some incredible guest on. Lewis Howes, The School of Greatness. Lisa Nichols, The Lisa Nichols Show. Every now and again, I'll watch the Model Health Show. It's a good show. Ed Milet, Max Out with Ed Milet. Love that show. Rich Roll. I'll probably look at Rich Roll. Trying to think who else. Galen, of course, Reverend Galen with Truth Transforms. So this is what I'm doing is, now this is happening all through the day. So I'm not really listening to it when I'm working because I need to be able to concentrate. But when I'm driving to and from, if I'm not on a phone call with someone, I'm usually consuming some type of, E.T. the hip hop preacher. Y'all gotta check this dude out. If you don't know who he is, find out. E.T. the hip hop preacher. He is the bomb. Oh my goodness, I can't say enough good things about him. So yes.
Reverend, I tried to get him to come to the facility where I work, but he's a little pricey for the state.
Yeah, man, he is. So when I first started paying attention to him, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I thought he had a message that was really powerful for young men. And but he has just exploded out of that. I mean, it don't matter who you are, you can be fed by him. And I learned that he's actually a preacher. He's not just E.T. the hip hop preacher. He's actually a preacher with a church in Detroit. And like I said, can't say enough good things. But yes, I will absolutely post a list. Phyllis says you were setting the intention for the day. Yes, I'm setting the intention for the day, but I'm also maintaining the intention throughout the day. I'm setting the intention for the day, but I'm maintaining the intention throughout the day. Again, we never have an output problem because the output is always proof of the input. What we have is an input problem. And so now here's the thing. I have built up this capacity. So there is no way when I, even just a few years ago, could have done the level of like running down the rabbit hole that I do right now with this personal development and spiritual development stuff. There's no way. So this is capacity built up over time, but I started with 5 minutes. Interestingly enough, so with habits in the beginning, it's all about frequency and not intensity. So at the beginning of this year, I started the habit. I said, you know what? Because I years ago, I've been someone I worked out every day, and it was just what I did, and it was who I was, and it was part of my identity. And then I went through this season where I stopped working out, and it seemed like nothing I would do could get me to work out. And then I'd have moments where I go hard in the paint, and then I fall back. And so I learned that often when we're setting habits, we do too much. And in the beginning, what we have to do is we have to actually work small, and then we can expand out. And so at the top of this year, actually last year, but I organized it as a goal in January, is that I decided I'm going to work out 5 minutes a day. That's my bare minimum. If I do more, that's great. If I do less, but I can't do any less, because 5 minutes is short enough that no matter what's going on, I can take 5 minutes and work out. Even if I just do 5 minutes of jumping jack, I can do 5 minutes of jumping jack, right? That's really what I decided. And what has happened is now I've built capacity. And now what started out as essentially 35 minutes a week, right? 5 minutes a day, is now built up to 300 minutes a week. So I've got a couple of hour-and-a-half workouts in there. I've got a couple of hour workouts in there, and then a couple of 5-minute workouts in there. And that all add up to 300 plus minutes per week. Well, now I'm in line to hit some goals, but in the beginning, it was about the frequency and not the intensity. So I say all that to say that if you control the input, that you will begin to shine light on that, on those shadow areas. And if you focus on the input rather than on the shadow, whatever shadow needs to leave will leave in an orderly fashion. Phyllis says, get a rebounder. Yes, yeah, that's what it's called. I didn't remember what it was called. I was looking up trampoline, but that's what I need to get is a good rebounder. Yes. Andrew says, all of those things, life, lift you to the frequency of absolute good. It creates a mental equivalent that it will manifest in some way. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes. Okay, so let's talk about where we want to go next. Where do we want to go next? What are you, where's your greatest need? Is it more money? Show of hands for more money. Is it better health? Lita says yes. Yes. Oh, Deb raised her hand. Yes, Deb, go ahead. Go ahead. Deb, you there? Hello? Deb, I can't hear you. You're unmuted. Okay. Maybe she was just raising her hand. More money is good. Sava says, I'm new to Bible Hangout. I like to hear more things regarding the Bible. Okay, got it. Money, health, got it. Okay. Well, now don't keep in mind we can do Bible around money. So it doesn't have to be either or. There's plenty in the Bible around money. So we can hit it. Anything else? Great. Any relationships? Anybody working on relationships, on love? So things like the focus is money, money, money. What is your relationship towards money? Yes, 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 yes. Okay, good. So I have a couple of hold on, let me see this. Kai says, yeah, that. I have a couple of things. We already did the 4 spiritual laws of prosperity, but there's a text, and this just might be a good text to have in your library, is the Prosperity Bible. You guys familiar with this? The Prosperity Bible. You can get this on Amazon for $20. This is a great text. And what it has is all of the seminal texts from New Thought, pretty much, with in here. Now, this is an excellent book. Another book that's excellent is The Secret of the Ages. This book, game changer. Game changer. We would spend a lot of time in this, but I have to break this up in some way. But I mean, it is like literally I was underlining every page. Every page. Listen, this is I just opened the book to where it was, and it says you control your destiny, your fortune, your happiness to the exact extent to which you can think them out, visualize them, see them, believe in them, and allow no vagrant thought of fear or worry to mar their completion and beauty. The quality of your thought is the measure of your power. The quality of your thought is the measure of your power. What kind of thought can you think? Can you think of money thoughts? Can you think of money? The quality of your thought is the measure of your power. This dude, Robert Collins. So in the I'm getting ready to teach a history, a New Thought history class next Wednesday night for the Kairos Institute, and there's so many amazing people. But one of the things that happened with New Thought, the New Thought started as a healing movement. Everyone who came into the New Thought movement, they were coming in because of a health challenge, from Charles Fillmore to Myrtle Fillmore to Emma Curtis Hopkins, Mary Baker Eddy. I mean, they all came from the need to fulfill a healing challenge. And then what happened is that as they got better health-wise, there was this idea, well, wait a minute, this is principle. This doesn't just work in terms of my health. This works also in terms of my money. And so you have these guys that took those principles from New Thought, that studied what the Transcendentalists wrote, that studied what the early pioneers, Warren Felt Evans, the Seaberries, you know, all of these early New Thought thinkers that studied what they were teaching and began to apply it to business. And so you have the most famous of them, of course, is Napoleon Hill, but also you've got Robert Collier, oh, my guy, Wallace Wattles. Where is he at? Now that's, you want to get your wig blown back? Let me tell you something. Wallace Wattles. Thomas Troward. I can't find my Wallace Wattles book. So Wallace Wattles is the science. His is always about the science of it. In fact, I'm borrowing or paying homage to his title in the course I'm getting ready to offer, Kick Butt, the Science of Being Unapologetically Great, because this thing is the science of being great, the science of being rich, the science of everything. Yes, somebody has a comment. No, no comment? Okay, all right, let me keep going. There's Prosperity's 10 Commandments. So this is a direction, potential direction. Yeah. I don't think I have this upstairs. I think this is on my downstairs shelf. How to Think Yourself Rich. Joseph Murphy. That is, oh wait, which one did Galen just do? Saba. Prosperity's 10 Commandments. You're right, he did just do Prosperity's 10 Commandments. And then of course, any of the Catherine Ponder books. Any of the Catherine Ponder books. So. Good. All right. Well, then I shall sit and pray over this and kind of figure out like what direction to go. What I will do, I will send out an email tonight. Yes, I will send out an email tonight so you have enough time to get your book off of Amazon. I want to talk about one other thing. This was another thought that came. And hold on. Reverend Mary has a guide. It's called the Hebrew Guide, the Student's Guide to the Hebrew Scriptures, and the Student's Guide to the Christian Scriptures. Now, this is not necessarily prosperity. Of course, anytime you're talking about the Bible, you're going to come across prosperity. But this is a Bible literacy course. And I thought about that. If you're interested in that, I wanted to just throw that out. It's a student guide to the Hebrew Scriptures and the student guide to the Christian Scriptures. Those are phenomenal because those books are not so much about the metaphysics. Those books are about the literal, like what is literally in the Bible. There's so many things that people have said, oh, that's in the Bible, that's in the Bible, and it's like, no, it's not. So we definitely could do that. I'm getting a lot of yeses on that. Okay. Okay, everybody's saying yes for that. All right. I gotta find the text. What did I do with my text? Oh, anyway, so what you'll need to do with that is that you'll need to get the text from Universal Truth Center. So if we choose to go that direction, so here's the question I have for you: Old Testament, New Testament? Old. Old Testament. Okay.
No. Well,
we definitely can do both.
Okay. All right.
Okay. This is the thing. When you get into it, it is going to awaken a love for the Bible that is going to blow your mind. And like, actually, now that I'm saying that, that's what we're doing. So we'll start with the Old Testament, and if we feel right at the end of that, we'll go right into the Christian Scriptures. And if not, then we'll take a break and do something else. But we'll start with the Old Testament. It really is powerful. I cannot stress enough. So the text, I'll say it here. I'll put it in the show notes for those that are watching on YouTube later. and then I will also what do I want to say? Send an email out. I couldn't get my thoughts together.
Reverend Sherri, you can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because being in New Thought and I've been 22 years, I've been in New Thought and I know what we teach, but I cannot for the life of me relate it and explain it from the Bible perspective.
All right, then this is it. This is it.
Yeah,
Okay.
because when I listen to John and Dana, I'm like, man, how did they get there? I love it. So
Okay.
I'm excited.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Can
yes,
you hear
yes.
me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so you're going to do the old Bible with the metaphysical understanding?
No metaphysical
You're gonna-
understanding.
You're going to do the Old Testament from the literal?
Yes.
And then what?
And then we will bring in speakers as we go. So
To
here's
interpret it metaphysically?
no.
Mm.
I know. Trust me on this one. Just go with me. I'm telling you, it will blow your mind. Have you taken Reverend Mary's class?
I never had the privilege of taking Reverend Mary's class. I mean, I have something from Reverend Mary when she came up
Boy,
with
I can tell
OGOT
you.
1 year. Settle down, Reverend Sherri. I have something from her when she came, and she actually did the 5 principles, but she did it from the Bible, but metaphysically, so that we understood it. So,
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm game.
This is this is one of those ways. So let me tell you what this experience is going to be like. So first of all, there have been so many things that have been passed down incorrectly about the Bible. And before you can do metaphysical interpretation, you actually need to know what the scriptures say. And most people don't know what the scriptures say. And so we have passed over information, and our mind has done a course correct based on whatever lens that we've been given to look at the Bible. So as best we can, what this course does is it lifts all of those lenses off of your eyes so that you can literally just see the text for what it is without the story that's been given to you about the text. And when you see it, this is what I know, because this was my experience, you will fall in love with it in a way that will shock you. Meaning, it won't mean that you won't need the metaphysical interpretation or you won't desire the metaphysical interpretation, but it's going to enrich your metaphysical interpretation so much more. The other thing to understand about metaphysical interpretation is that the metaphysical interpretation keys off of the literal, meaning that they use the literal definitions of the words and how they function in the story to determine what the metaphysical definition is. Those things were not just kind of pulled out of someone's backside. So one of the things that Reverend Mary does in this text is just to get you present to what does the text actually say, not what you've been told by theologians who are presenting it from a particular point of view, right? Because the way that we've been told the Old Testament story, if you will, is that it's essentially a setup for the coming of Jesus. And that's not what the scripture says. These are stories that come out of a community of people, multiple communities of people, and they present a relationship between these ancient people, various groups of them, and their understanding of God. And so it really helps you to see that over the course of the New Testament, what you're seeing is this evolution of the idea of God. It's really powerful. It's really, really, really powerful. Andrew, she says, I taught a class on don't know much about the Bible. Very interesting, especially historically. Yes. Yes. So that's it. So, I'm excited for you, Constance, because I know I know what kind of student you are, so I know you're going to love this. Yay. Okay. All right. That's it. That's what we're doing. All right. So now I want to give you some of what I got here. Okay. Unleash the power within. So one of the things that I think is a challenge for a lot of people is when Tony's talking about unleash the power within, he's essentially saying the same thing that we're saying, which is that there is that inside of you who which is infinite, inexhaustible, unending, and life-giving. That is your true self. And to unleash the power within is to take the story off of your life so that your true self can shine through. The you that is bold, that is audacious, that is unapologetic, that is caring and loving and giving and generous. So many times our generosity is crimped, not because we're not generous, but because we have been hurt. And so we're afraid to give. We're afraid to put ourselves out there. You see this a lot in relationships. We don't want to play full out, right? And there is a cost to not playing full out, which is that we lead unsatisfying lives. Yes, it's scary to play full out. It is absolutely scary to just throw yourself out there and say, I'm doing it. But it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it because you get the best of you out into expression. I had a question. VJ says, please briefly tell who Reverend Mary is. Thanks. Reverend Mary Tumpkin is from Detroit. So yay, Detroit. She's from Detroit, and she was a part of the Hebrew Israelites growing up. Anyway, it was a movement like that. And she was ordained when she was 13. She was in Miami and was preaching somewhere. Les Brown had been ordained by Johnny Coleman and had gone to Miami, his hometown, to start a church. And he realized very quickly that he was very much an itinerant minister. He was not someone who wanted to sit and pastor a flock. That wasn't his gift. That wasn't what he was called to do. And so he was the one that found Reverend Mary and brought her to the community at Universal Truth Center. The group ends up, at this point, this is a study group. The group ends up founding Universal Truth Center and built it into this amazing, amazing dynamic ministry. And that's not telling you half of her story. She's a mom. She was a wife. Her son is a football coach for college. And what made her so phenomenal was that she was a Bible scholar. That's what really made her so phenomenal. Johnny was a Bible person, but really Johnny was a 12 powers person. And what Mary brought to the movement was this emphasis on Bible. And in fact, one of the reasons that UFPL made the decision to be Bible-based versus any of the other New Thought movements is because of Reverend Mary. That was one of the lasting legacies that she left with us, that we would be Bible-based. Now, all of the New Thought ministries grow out of the Bible, every last one of them. Mary Baker Eddy was a Bible student, Bible scholar. Emma Curtis Hopkins, Bible student, Bible scholar. What you find in New Thought is that we do not take the Bible as the ultimate authority in our experience. The Bible is the inspired word of God, but the true word of God is written on your heart. The true word of God is not in any form. And so the Bible is not the ultimate authority. The Holy Spirit is the ultimate authority. I'm always listening for that still small voice of the whole Spirit of God inside of me. What that has meant is that if the Bible is not my ultimate authority, then I can say yay or nay to it, right? Because it's not the ultimate authority. The ultimate authority is what the Spirit says to me on my heart. And so if you want to say like, okay, what's the difference between what you do and say what the Word of Faith guys do? We don't take the Bible as the ultimate authority. At the same time, there's a recognition that this teaching grew out of the Bible. That if you go back to Ernest Holmes or the original writers of Warren Feld Evans and the Seaberries, you've heard me mention their name, and other people, that you will find Bible all through what they're saying, even though the Bible is not considered the ultimate authority. but these were all Bible-inspired ministries. And so Reverend Mary made the choice when she became the head of the organization, the Universal Foundation for Better Living, that we would be Bible-based New Thought, that we would be the organization that would continue this tradition of Bible-based metaphysical interpretation and Bible-based New Thought. And you won't find that anywhere else. That is one of our key distinctions between, say, what we do and Centers for Spiritual Living or Divine Science or any of the other science religions or science denominations. And so Reverend Mary, she was responsible for that. I was part of the last seminary class that she taught in 2011, 2012. She made her transition in 2013. I got to know her July 1998, so literally 21 years ago this year. And I had gone to Chicago to hear Reverend Johnny preach, and I was there for my sorority boule and for POT. And they overlapped by a day, but I figured Johnny, for sure she's going to do the healing service. This is the reason everybody comes to POT, is for the healing service. Well, lo and behold, I got there and Johnny was not doing the healing service. It was Reverend Mary. I didn't know who Reverend Mary was. I was not happy. Like, I came for Reverend Mary. Who is this? I came for Reverend Johnny. Who is this woman? And this woman opened her mouth, and I have never been the same. And so then I just became a Reverend Mary groupie. And wherever Reverend Mary went, that's where I went. If she was teaching in San Francisco, I was in San Francisco. If she was teaching in Miami, I was in Miami. It really didn't matter. I was everywhere. I would come on the women's retreat, and it'd be funny because other people would want to get off they would do cruises every other year. And so people would want to get off the boat and go to the excursion. I'm like, I don't need an excursion. I can sit right here in front of Reverend Mary and just learn. And so I was a student that was like the fly on the wall. The other thing that's a lasting legacy of Reverend Mary is that she laid the foundation for what is today the Johnny Coleman Theological Seminary. And I was so fortunate and so blessed. Was it coincidence? Was I led? That I got to be, because I kept showing up everywhere. And so she just gave me a job. She was like, all right, you be the secretary. And so I got to be the secretary for what was called the Education Subcommittee. And so we would meet multiple times during the year to lay the foundation for the Johnny Coleman Theological Seminary. And I was so excited. So just like, because I mean, if you can imagine, so there's me, I'm like 20 something. And then there's Reverend Mary, Reverend Penny, and Reverend Helen. You guys may not know some of these names. Reverend Phyllis, Reverend Emma, who am I missing? Reverend Sheila, Reverend Evan, like all these luminaries, Reverend Denise Lockhart, all these amazing luminaries. And I was just a little 20-something fly on the wall, just taking notes. And, you know, I mean, I would leave every meeting just wig blown back, like, this is amazing, absolutely amazing. So that's who Reverend Mary is. And she is probably my foremost teacher, and who I absolutely, you know, pattern a lot of how I do what I do after how she did what she did. And I'm just so grateful that I got a chance to follow her and to know her. So Andrea says you had great teachers. I did. We have the best teachers on the planet. We just do. So I'm very proud to continue in this tradition of metaphysical Bible interpretation, Bible-based metaphysical Bible interpretation, because even Unity, which is where we come out of, is not carrying on this tradition. So it's us. Someone has a comment?
So, Reverend Sherri.
Yes.
Well, I am especially proud that you are a Mary Tumpkin protege, because imagine me coming from under Reverend Mary for 20-something years, and now for you to take it on, I feel like, oh my gosh. So, I mean, I'm so excited. I follow you. You always see me following you, doing everything that you do. So I'm you now.
Oh, I love you for that. I do. Yes, Reverend Mary, she was a game changer, man. She was a game changer, and she had a big footprint.
Yeah.
She had a big footprint, and you know, but again, I think that it is significant that we are the ones that this type of Bible interpretation has landed in our laps. No one else is doing this. I want you to get this. On the face of the planet, no one else is doing this. They're not doing it in the Centers for Spiritual Living. They're not doing it in Divine Science. They're not doing it in any of the independent centers. They all have an amazing message, taking nothing from their message because they're phenomenal. You see me, I bring them onto the show. I'm in love with the work that they're doing. I'm grateful for it. But it is us, this group of, we don't consider ourselves African American community, right? Because we are multicultural. But it's not lost on me that it is this group of primarily African American men and women who have, it's landed in our lap in this season. And the question is, will it die out on our watch? Will it die out on our watch? So anyway, the more I talk, I'm like, yeah, we need to be going and looking at the Bible. That's what we need to be. So anyway, excited about that. So what I want to give you for Tony, and this will apply to what we're doing in with the Bible, and this is true just across all of our lives, that part of what hinders our ability to do what we want to do, meaning consciously make those choices, is that very often when we are looking at a scenario, we are not seeing it as it is. And so one of the things that we have to begin to do is to see life, to see the Bible text as it is. Not the story that's on top of it, and not the story that we add on top of it. Go back. What do the words mean? Yeah. Oh, two different people, Phyllis. Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures is Mary Baker Eddy. Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures is Mary Baker Eddy. Interestingly enough, toward the end of Reverend Mary's life, she became very fascinated with Mary Baker Eddy. Very, very fascinated with Mary Baker Eddy. So Mary Baker Eddy founded Christian Science. One of her most prominent students was Emma Curtis Hopkins, who broke away and founded, well, she called it Christian Science, but Mary Baker Eddy took it to court and sued her and got control of the name Christian Science. And Emma Curtis Hopkins taught the Fillmores. She taught the Melinda Kramer, the women that founded Divine Science. She taught Ernest Holmes. He was her last student in New York City. And then those teachers then went out and founded what today is Centers for Spiritual Living, Unity, Divine Science, and other independent New Thought ministries. So, but then Mary Tumpkin came under Johnny Coleman. Got it. Okay, thank you, old guys. I got your comment. So what we want to do, I'm jumping all over the place here, but just excuse me for that. What we want to do, and this is so important for us for going forward, just in our lives individually, but then collectively as a community of people, is that we have to begin to see things as they are, not better than they are, and not worse than they are. I love that. Alita says, my grandfather was an Emma Curtis Hopkins groupie. Don't think he cared for Mary Baker Eddy. Not a lot of people did. Mark Twain called her the most dangerous woman in America. We want to see life as it is. And so this is what we're looking to do when we go into the text. We want to be able to see the text as it is. So many of us have been given a story. And the story is so strong in our hearts and our minds that we can't even see or fathom anything different. For example, one of the first things we're going to see, because we're going to start with Genesis, is that there are two creation stories. There is the creation story in Genesis 1, which is the creation by divine fiat or spoken word. And then there is the creation of Genesis 2, which is the creation by Jehovah God. Now, when we read those stories, we read them as if it's one continuous narrative. But in actuality, they're written by two different communities, right? Part of what happens is that we read in the English, so a lot of the syntax, a lot of the context gets lost in the English. English kind of flattens out the language. So a lot of the texture that's in those two different accounts of the creation story, we don't even have the ability to put our minds around because we're reading in the English. It would be a little bit easier for us to see in the Hebrew. What you would see is that in the Genesis chapter 1 is Elohim God, or what we would call the creator God. This is the God that creates by divine fiat. And what you would have in Genesis chapter 2 is Lord God. And you'll see it's the acronym, or Jehovah God is what it's called. They are not the same, meaning they're not the same God concept. They're two different concepts. And in fact, the documents are 400 years apart, and the Genesis 2 account is 400 years older than the Genesis 1 account. So the just even being able to like grasp that just to dig into that and to just be aware of that. And again, how we've been taught to read it is as if it's one continuous narrative, and it is not. And so when we go into the text, what I'm going to be encouraging you to do over and over and over again is to see it as it is, to see the text as it is. And this was one of the principles for that Tony talked about when you're looking at your life, which is to be able to see your life as it is. Very often when we're looking at circumstances in our lives, we're looking at it worse than it is. And so we can never make a real decision about it because we don't even have a good grasp on it. So if there's a failure, it's like the failure to end all failure. And he's saying that you have to get to this place where you can see it as it is. And then once you can see it as it is, then see it better than it is. And once you can see it better than it is, then you make it the way you see it. And so all of these are principles for creation. See it as it is. So whatever it is, I spend money and I bounce checks. See it as it is. Don't tell any story about it. This is just what happened. Now see it better than it is. I'm getting better. I have an opportunity to turn this thing around. Now make it the way you see it. Begin to take action in that direction. That was one of the things that he gave us. The other thing that he gave us is that very often we won't take action until we have a certain level of certainty inside of us. So we have here, very, very simply. You don't get dressed in the morning until you're certain what you're going to put on. As long as you haven't made a decision, you're standing in your closet, scanning your wardrobe or wherever you keep your clothes, but you're scanning what's possible. And then you don't take action until you are certain this and not that. So complexity is the enemy of execution. Very often when there are places in our lives where we're not taking action, it's because we've made things too complex. And so what we've got to be able to do is to chunk things down till we get to the simplest form, and then we can take some action. And so if there's a place in your money where you are not taking action with saving or with it, to chunk it down to the smallest thing. You know what? I'm just going to put away $5 a week because Reverend Sherri said habits, frequency matters more than intensity. And as I build the consistency of putting aside $5 a week, then a week is going to come where I'm going to add maybe $2 or $3 more to it. And then another week is going to come and I'm going to add another 2 or 3. And pretty soon I'll be putting away $100 a week, $400 a month. Is this making sense? Complexity is the enemy of execution. Good. So what happens is that when you get it to its simplest form, when you get it to the form where you can take action, it helps you get to a level of certainty. When you get it to the form where you can take action, it produces for you a level of certainty. One of the things that impacts your ability to get to certainty is that the energy is too low. You cannot have certainty in a low energy state. So one of the things that you can do when you're sitting in the seat of confusion is to just get up and move. to get up and get into a high energy state. Put on some music. I don't know what your jam is, you know. I don't know if you are Earth, Wind, and Fire or Frankie Beverly and Maze or I don't know who gets you moving, but it's just to get up and get into that, because that's going to get you into a state of certainty. And so just put on whatever song from your childhood, if it's Jackson 5 or Freddie Jackson or whatever the thing that like gets you going and it excites you, put that on. And then when you're in that state, then ask yourself, now, all I really need to do is, and the answer will come. And it'll flow like water. You cannot get to certainty in a low energy state. And so very often when we're sitting in confusion, the confusion is weighing us down. And so we feel the weight of the confusion. But in a very simple 5-minute way, you can get up and move it and change that. There's this bass line. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Happy feelings in the air, touching people everywhere. And you get to moving, get your groove on. I don't know if y'all step, you know, if you get a little step going, but moving that energy, it shakes you and it shifts you. And then when the song is over, you know what? All I really need to do is, and watch the answer come. What's powerful is that Tony did this in the room. And so I had something that had been, here, I'll tell it. So I'm working on my course and I had someone helping me with the videos, and then they keep getting gigs and can't help me with the videos. And it literally was frustrating me, but it was killing my momentum in every other area. So I had essentially pretty much kind of stopped taking action, except micro actions on the project. And so I'm frustrated, and I'm like, this is, you know, I'm telling people the course is coming. I can't get these videos from the editor. This is a hot mess. This, you know, my reputation is on the line. And he put on some song. Here's a song, Life Will Never Be the Same. So life will never be the same. That was one of the themes over the weekend. Life will never be the same. Life will never be the same. And so we kept saying it over and over again. And then after we had stopped jumping and dancing, he said, now, what I want you to do is, whatever that problem is you have, here's the sentence I want you to complete. All I really need to do is, and I did it in an instant. There was no hesitation. The language just flowed out of my mouth. And I was like, oh, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Good. So I want to give you one other piece that I think is powerful. And this was one of the ones. I could talk about the 6 human needs, but I think this will serve you more than those 6 human needs. So he spent the first day really trying to get us to grasp that you can change your state of mind in an instant, that you're not waiting for anyone or anything to change your state of mind. And then he kept demonstrating that with having us quickly get into a high state of mind, into an active state of mind through just excitement and intensity and joy and all of that. And then he explained state of mind as like a triangle. And each leg of the triangle represents something. So the bottom leg would represent, say, how you hold your body. The leg on this side will represent where do you put your attention. And the leg on this side will represent what are you saying to yourself. So your body, where's your attention, and what are you saying to yourself? And he helped us to really grasp this. So there were 15,000 people present. And one of the things that he said was, okay, I want you guys to get into a depressed state. And that was the only instruction he gave us. And so you saw different people kind of, you know, organize their bodies this way. And you're like, okay. And he said, now I want you to walk and talk to your neighbor in a depressed state. And so we just kind of walked around and said, oh, and we were talking in a depressed state to one another. And then he said, okay, stop. I want you to look around the arena, 15,000 people. I want you to look around the arena. There are 77 countries here, 15,000 people. and each one of you knew exactly what to do to get into a depressed state. And so he helped us to see in a really visceral way that depression or any state of mind has a physiology, what you do with your body. It has a focus, where's your attention, and it has a language, the way you talk and what you say. That was probably one of the most powerful things that I walked away with. Because if you move any leg on the triangle, you change the physiology, you lessen the depression in the experience. If you change the focus, you lessen the depression. If you change the language, you lessen the depression. If you move all three legs, you change the state of mind altogether. So one of the things they taught us, and this was a refrain, you gotta shake that bottom. That wasn't the word that they used. You gotta shake that bottom, right? And the thing is that you can't, if you shaking your bottom, you can't be in a depressed state. Just try it. If you are in a depressed state right now, if you're listening to this, I dare you, I double dare you to get up and shake your bottom half and try to stay in that depressed state. And so it's a simple tool. In fact, there were 4 others that they gave. I honestly don't remember the other 4.
Oh, Reverend,
Yes.
what you're saying, it really strikes me because it just really says that we have choice.
Yes.
We can choose to be depressed. We can choose not to be depressed.
Yes. Yes. That's it. That's exactly it. I want to find these because I don't even remember the other. I don't even remember the other one. It was because that one just it was hashtag shake that ASS, and so that was the thing they kept saying the whole weekend. But it was powerful because again, depression has a physiology. Alita says his 6 core human needs are certainty, variety, significance, love and connection, growth and contribution. Right, exactly. Those are powerful too. All right, I thought I could find it quickly, but I can't. So shake your groove thing. That's it. Shake your groove thing. Yes. Yeah. Right. Shake your groove thing. So my point being is that if there's a state of mind that you want to change one or all 3 of those legs of the triangle and you shift the state of mind. And so one of the things that he had us do, because we were getting ready to get on the fire, right, was to continually shift our state. And so in order to walk on fire and not be burned, you have to get into a peak state of mind. You have to get in a state of mind that, 1, I'm not going to be burned, and my body's going to know exactly what to do so that I won't get burned, right? And so we're constantly up and moving, and it's like, okay, now make your move. And the thing is he had us develop a move. So mine was like let's go, let's get this, and then say yes, say yes, say yes, and then now celebrate as if you're going to celebrate the way you would on the other side of the fire. And so we would get up and we would jump and we would do it. And it was so powerful, and I'm so glad that I went and I decided to play full out, because what I learned is that this is what I can do before any meeting, before any sermon, before any class, before anything. And it was so this is what he had us do. He spent the whole day explaining and teaching us that we could move from state to state to state quickly. Then when we got closer till it was time to go get on the fire, he had us walk through the sequence in our minds. They taught us how to walk on the fire, and then we had a mantra, right? So he would say, okay, I want you sitting in your seat, and we're sitting. And he said, I want you to see yourself at the fire. Now, in your imagination, I want you to make your move. So you make your move. And then in your mind, just say yes. Now, when you get to the fire, make your move, say yes, and go. And you just go across the fire, like just, across the fire, and you get to the end. And then in your mind, I want you to celebrate the way that you would when you get on the other side of the fire. And this is happening in our imagination. Then we would get up and do it in the body. Then we would sit back down and do it in our imagination. Then we would get up and do it in the body. Now we're not walking across the fire. We're doing this imagining like in the, in the arena. So first we do it in our minds, all the activity is happening in the mind. Then we would get up and practice walking on the floor where we were, and we would celebrate the way that we planned to celebrate. And then we sit back down and do it in our imagination. We did that 3 times each, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that's when it clicked. That's how you get through everything else. And so for me, before I go into a sermon, I see myself on the platform. And I see myself going through the motions on the platform. And then I see myself at the end of the sermon, and then I celebrate. And then I get up and do the same thing in the body. Then I sit back down and I do it in my mind. I celebrate. Then I get up and do it in my body, and I celebrate. Then I sit back down and I do it in my mind. And then I get back up and do it in my body. What happens is you get it in your nervous system. Now, you can do that for anything. So if you have a presentation, if you have a negotiation, if you need to go into a room and talk to your spouse about something that's a touchy subject, whatever, there is no limit to this. And what's happening, we do things in threes, and I've heard that before, just the power of 3, because it anchors it in the body. Now, Myrtle Fillmore says, what you feel in the body is irresistible to the soul to express. And so one of the things that you can do every night is rehearse the next day. What you can do every night is rehearse the next day and celebrate. So you go through the motions in your mind and then you celebrate. Maybe you are working on your book and you're really having trouble, making yourself sit down and write. Rehearse it in your mind the day before. And then celebrate the way you're going to celebrate after you finish your writing session. And then get up and practice and sit at your desk. And, obviously never do the whole writing session, but and then celebrate the way you would celebrate at the end of your writing session. Like, I did it. I didn't procrastinate this time. Yes. And then sit back down and do it in your imagination. And then get up and do it in the body again. And then sit back down and do it in your imagination. And then get up and do it in the body again. It anchors it. And then the celebration is possible because everybody wants to be celebrated. It's human nature. We want to feel unique. We want to feel seen. When you celebrate yourself, you see yourself. And you anchor in this behavior and not something else. That was probably another one of my most profound takeaways. It was like, I don't celebrate myself enough. I'm so busy going to the next thing and like just, I'm on my grind, right? I'm out here, I'm doing it. I'm a gorilla, right? I'm gonna make it happen. And I'm actually uncomfortable with celebration, to tell you the truth. I told Reverend Sherri, because last year we did the pastor's anniversary, and I was uncomfortable the entire time because I'm uncomfortable being celebrated. It's not the reason I do what I do. So then if somebody celebrates me, it just makes me it's like nails on a chalkboard inside of me. And I smile, I got a good face, but I'm not comfortable with it. And the thing is that if you want to get the extraordinary out of you and into expression, you got to get comfortable with celebration, because that's how you get it out. Isn't that how it works with children? What you celebrate. Let me tell you who loves track. Jordan. You know why he loves track? It's fun. But 2, every time I get in the car, I call my mom and I tell her what amazing thing he did on the track. And I praise him to the high heavens in front of her. And so he's like, I can't wait to get on the track because I'm gonna get some more praise. I can't wait to go to. Do I have track practice today? And they running him. He doing laps at 5 laps. No stopping, laughs. Phyllis says, I used to practice that as a child when I have to recite a poem, except for the celebrating. Yes, add the celebration. Add the celebration. Human beings, we need celebration. It is in our core of who we are. Right. It doesn't mean that that's why you do what you do. You do it for many, many reasons. But what the celebration does is that it says, I see you. I see you, Sherri. That's what it says. And it's so powerful. It's so powerful. So anyway, I wanted to leave you with that. There's so much more to give you from Tony. I definitely could just teach his stuff. Because it's good. It's good stuff. Thank you so much for tonight. I will send out a text. So the text is called The Student's Guide to the Hebrew Scriptures, and you get it from Universal Truth Center. So what I'm going to do is give you the phone number and a link to call the bookstore to order it and to get the book sent to you. I've already alerted them that that we're going to be needing copies of the text, so they have some on hand. But you'll want to get Student Guide to the Hebrew Scriptures, and we will jump into that next week. Thank you, everybody. Good night. Price $20. I don't know. You know what? I'm not sure. I think it's like $20, $20 or $25. Those of you that are doing CEUs, don't forget, I need your assignments by Sunday midnight. And it is free. If you want to do a voluntary love offering basis to acknowledge me grading the paper, that's fine, or not. But please let the people know in your center my midnight. So those on the East Coast get an extra 3 hours. My midnight. Please let the people in your centers know, because there may be people who might have a financial challenge and they need CEUs. This is an opportunity for them. All of the videos are online. I created a link that I sent out in the email to those of you who indicated that you needed the continuing education units, that you can share, and just let them know the same deadline applies. After March 31st, though, of 2019, if somebody wants that, they'll need to contact me, because it's really going to depend on my schedule and my availability to grade the papers. So if they're watching it back and they need it, to the best that I can, I'll work something out. But it's very possible that I may have a schedule conflict that won't allow me to, for them to do the CEUs. So definitely get the CEUs in. All right. Thank you, everybody. I will see you next week when we start on the Student Guide to the Hebrew Scriptures. Love you guys. Bye-bye.